All right, thank you. We'll call order the town board meeting at the Town of Lisbon Town Hall on Monday, April 26, 2021 at 6:34 PM. Roll call, please.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Chairman Osterman,
Present.
Supervisor Brown,
Here.
Supervisor Moonen,
Here.
Supervisor Beal,
Here.
Supervisor Plotecker. Here. Administrator Nicholas.
Here.
I've got Inspector Olhafen on Zoom and Planner Holloway on Zoom.
All right, thank you. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 3 is comments from citizens present. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say tonight? Anyone on Zoom? See any hands?
Do not see hands raised on Zoom.
All right. Item 4 is the consent
Excuse
agenda.
me. Oops. I think, the residents, I don't know, they've never been to a meeting before, and I think that they wanted to speak. I don't know if it's proper. Do you want to speak? Yeah, you need to.
Is it? Yeah, if you come up to the podium, we're on Zoom. So if you come up and just state your name and address and then what your comments would be. So once the meeting starts happening, it stays up here at the board unless you're actually here under the agenda item, like if you're part of that agenda item. So like, for this would be under Diane. So this is between the board and Diane at that point. So, okay.
Okay, my name's Dan Habercorn, W225 and 8958 Jolin Drive. We brought a complaint forward against the Ligbees in regards to their brush and their waste piles and their overall junk pile that they also have in the backyard. These piles continue to get bigger and bigger, and they expand further and further up the walkway towards our property. And basically, it's a safety hazard, in my opinion. These brush piles have gotten, I'd say, 6-7 feet tall. We actually took a tape measure out there this morning, and it was definitely higher than 3, 4, 5 feet tall. I'd say 6-7 feet tall. Within these brush piles, they're all in the backyard. It basically forms a perimeter. In my opinion, it's basically just trying to form a fence around the perimeter to try and contain her dogs, because they have 4 German Shepherd dogs. And because they refuse to get a stockade fence or put those dogs on leash, I think this is their version of a fence by piling up this brush. Included within this brush is also like grass clippings, vegetation, dog poop that they fling into the piles. And all this is just condensed into like big piles of rubbish and trash, in my opinion. I think it's a fire hazard. We all know what happened in Menominee Falls the other north, right? There's something like this. It's definitely prone to a fire hazard. It's been very dry conditions out right now, so it's definitely prone to fire. Our neighbor has a fire pit back there. He likes to bring stuff in the fire pits. I mean, let's just say a spark can fly, ignite the piles, the whole wood line would then be on fire. So I think number 1, it's a safety hazard. Number 2, I think it's a health hazard. We walk back there and there's holes in there. There's obviously probably critters living in these piles. So it's like very disgusting. In addition, it smells very bad as well. I mean, when it's hot and humid and when it's windy out, I mean, they throw their dog poop in there. So 4 German Shepherds dog poop intermixed in there, it stinks. So that's a big concern there. And it's just an eyesore too. If us or the neighbors ever wanted to move, how do you explain away these big, huge piles that are just sitting there and they're continuing to get worse unless something is done about it? So I guess those are the main reasons why I'm bringing the concerns regarding the brush pile, the waste pile, and the junk pile. And the junk pile, I sent pictures to you on Friday. I mean, there's anything from tires to metal drums to a big, huge plastic container to chain link fence to chicken wire fence, and you just got a whole bunch of things just piled together in this chain link fence area. So I don't know why that needs to be there. I mean, they have 3 acres of property. So if they want to store these piles, why can't they store it on the other side where nobody has to see it? Right now, the 2 neighbors that are closest have to see all this stuff. So those are my concerns. That's what we brought the complaint.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone, any hands raised on Zoom?
Do not have any hands raised on Zoom.
So you haven't, you're actually on the agenda?
I am, okay, understood. I didn't see.
Okay.
There's extra copies out on the bookshelf.
Thank you.
All right, we will then move on to item 4, which is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a town board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda. We have the April 12th, 2021 town board minutes. We have a pay request number 1 for street extension on TID 1 payable to Wander Construction for $154,952.23. Pay request number 5 for utility work on TID 1 payable to Wolski Construction for $181,732.58. And an agreement for a traffic analysis and design incorporated to conduct a traffic impact analysis TIA on Main Street and County Highway F and west of Town Line Road, County Highway V for the Leeds redevelopment at a cost of $8,935. Would anyone like to make a motion on the consent agenda, or is there anything you'd like to be removed to discuss?
I make a motion, we accept all the conditions as presented.
Is there a second? Second by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5 is accounts payable. Authorize the payment of the bills in the amount of $535,372.98.
I have highlighted in your packet the payment approval report. Compass Materials, that's for salt, $6,445.63. The Village of Sussex for clean water loan interest, clean water principal, monthly ticket processing, $118,335.85. County Treasurer for police services, $62,735.77. And then the Walensky Construction for the utility extension, $181,732.58. And then Wondra Construction for the street extension, first payment, $154,952.23. As for approval.
Thank you, Kathy. Questions or comments on the check register? Is there a motion on the check register?
I'll make a motion that we approve the check register as presented.
Motion by Becky to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6 is announcements and correspondence. For meeting list, we have the town board meeting on Monday, May 10th, 2021 at 6:30 PM at the town hall. We have a plan commission meeting on Thursday, the 13th at 6:30 at the town. Actually, that'll be at the Richard Young Station for plan commission. So it'll be at the Richard Young Fire Station for that one. Then we have a Parks Committee meeting on the 17th at 6:30 at the Richard Young Fire Station. Sanitary District Number 1 Commission meeting on Wednesday, the 19th
Mhm.
at 6:30 at the Town Hall. And then we have a Board of Appeals on Wednesday, the 19th at 5 PM at the Richard Young Station. Any other announcements or correspondence to note? All right, item 7 is Administrator Report. Kathy?
So for the Leeds update, I just have a small report today for the Leeds update. I'm meeting with Menominee Falls to go over extraterritorial review of the commercial portion of the site. At this point, they don't believe that the site is sustainable, so I need to get a better understanding of what they're looking at for approval. The construction of the storm pond is going to wrap up this week. It turns out that there was enough suitable clay, so we'll see a reduction of $40,000 in the original contracted price. That'll show on our next bill. With Richard Road has been graded and cut to subgrade. It should have gravel put on it today or tomorrow. The grading and ditching, the ditches along Richard Road have also been completed. The grading and ditching for the storm pond and all the drainage for the site will be worked on next week. And then the lane widening and improvements on Main Street will be starting next week as well. We are all on schedule for all of the projects that we have put out for leads at this point. And we will update this information on the website for those that are checking to see what's happened.
Good.
I also walked with Public Works to see what was on the lead site. Take a look at some of the trees that might be worth selling, or some black that might be worth removing and reusing to reduce the amount that goes into fill. I might bring in a landscaper that'd be willing to look at what's on the site and might be able to give us an offer on what might be usable, just as an idea. So that's all I have for you today.
That's perfect, because I didn't think that they were salvageable, the trees and so forth.
There are
so-
some,
Yeah.
some are
wonderful.
not.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any questions for Kathy? Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
Item 8, supervisor reports. Does anyone have anything to report at this time?
No, it was just our normal meeting last week, just paying the bills.
Okay,
Mhm.
anything from anyone else? All right. Item 9, plan commission recommendations. A, discussion and necessary action on the request by applicant Randy Willie for Lafarge Aggregates for an amended site plan of operation to allow for temporary seasonal extension of production hours for the properties located at West 249 North 9436 Hillside Road, tax key LSBT 0154.992, LSBT 0153.997, and LSBT 0153.996 in the Q1 coring zone. All right, I believe this, I don't remember how many members we had at the last meeting, but I know this passed unanimous. Any questions or comments from anyone on the board?
So do they come forward for this every year, and do they get it granted in the past?
This is a first on this one.
This is first. But they will be put on the agenda every
6,
month.
a month, that's right.
So,
The town board agenda
every month going through the summer?
going through the summer, just in case we have any complaints or anything that we can address.
And what are the production hours again that they're increasing?
From 6 at night to 9?
Rachel?
6 to 9?
Yes, hello. I'm on the Zoom. Would you like me to, was there a question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear very well.
Wondering what the hours, you're extending the hours from 6 PM till 9 PM every night?
The request is from just Monday through Friday only, and they would be, that's a change from what's currently 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. So they'd be adding 3 hours in the evening just during weeknights. The weekend hours are proposed to stay the same, which would be 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And this would be extended through September 30th is the request.
Well, I think maybe we should consider that, keeping it on in case there was someone, or condition this on the fact if someone comes forward, that we need to look at it again.
It will come every month.
Okay,
That's how it's set
but
up.
they're asking for September right away.
This is through those months,
Yeah,
but every month they're gonna come, and that's part of the conditions, is they have to come, every month it'll be on the agenda to see if there were any complaints and get approval. That's what our code.
So they
requires us to do.
if I understand this correctly, Kathy, they've never asked this before, correct? Have they ever done between 6 and?
They have not.
But they do say they're not going to do any trucking. They're not going to be doing any excavating or
Correction.
crushing.
what are
and
they
all.
doing
All
it
gonna
for?
be inside,
Yeah.
all inside work.
So
Okay,
processing.
okay.
No, they'll be,
Well-
I'm sorry, this is Randy Willie from Lafarge. Good evening, everyone. We won't be loading any trucks or scaling any trucks going in and out of the facility, but we will be processing aggregate at the production plant. So there will be a feeder in the field feeding the plant, and the crushers and the screens will run. However, the plant is about 500 feet from the property line. And I don't know if we'll operate every day, but it's a Monday through Friday request for 5 months in a row. Can we take it from May 1st to September 30th?
And this is Rachel again. The zoning code does explicitly have a provision that allows the board and plan commission to extend hours in certain circumstances. This request, correct me if I'm wrong, Randy, but was based on unique circumstances related to COVID and staffing and energy use and all of that.
COVID was the beginning of the issue. We're a big corporation. We have a lot of policies, and we're probably a smaller producer in the area. But on top of that, we've done some analysis with utilities and utilities management. And we want to see if we can reduce our consumption would be diluted over the course of a longer day. And we could probably maybe not run on Fridays for a certain period of time and actually just be more efficient. And it's a commodity business, so it is driven by cost control. So these are the 5 months where it's daylight till 9 p.m.-ish, and we think we can be a good neighbor while we operate this summer doing that.
Any questions from anyone else on the board? No?
Only thing I thought of during this was, are we gonna have to redo our code eventually? Because now we're allowing them to go outside the 12-hour window of 6 to 6.
Only a temporary, and because they're not completely changing their site plan of operation for maternity, this small piece, and that is in our code that allows us.
Right. I'm just saying creating a precedent or standard for other people to, I guess, roll into.
They could come in and ask, like we do it with Stark Asphalt. You know, it's not a quarry operation, but still aggregate to some extent, where they will come in and ask for extended hours at times. Yeah. So we've had these in the past. It's not brand new,
Right.
but this, for them it is. For them.
No, I guess my only concern is it's bordered by subdivision on,
Mhm.
call it 4 sides of the 5-sided property. 4 sides.
And that's why that first month will be pretty, first month or two, to see if there's any complaints on everything. And they'll have to come back every single month.
Yeah, this is Rachel. I'd just like to add briefly, because this is not in the staff report in the packets. I don't believe it's in there, but Plan Commission just recommended approval on April 8th, subject to the conditions recommended in the staff report, which really just attempt to document the hours, the temporary hours that would be in place from May 1 to September 30th. They also discuss and added as a recommended condition that Lafarge change their backup alarms during those extended hours from something that would beep to something akin to white noise. They found that to be agreeable. I believe that's something Randy offered.
Correct. Yes.
And the other thing that's in addition to the staff recommended conditions in the memo was the recording of a document. Because this is a conditional use in the Q1 district and they're making this request, also to assist with just record keeping, they recommended recording a conditional use document to just get on file a confirmation that they are an existing conditional use, because that's how we felt it was appropriate to process this, since they've been there for many years. So that's something that they've been the town attorney's been working with the staff on.
Anyone have any other questions? Is there a motion on this item?
Make a motion that we approve the request by Lafarge Aggregate for an amended SPP 00 to allow for temporary seasonal extension of production hours for the properties located at West 249, North 9436,
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any final discussion?
I think we should put the hours in there from 6 until 10, of 6
9.
until 9.
Yeah, it's in the document.
Okay, I just didn't know it in the,
Mhm.
whatever. Okay.
As it's all,
Okay,
because that is what the site plan of operation
okay,
has in it.
okay.
Any other discussion?
Mm-mm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item B is discussion necessary action on the request by Joe Bukovich for MLGTF Twin Pines LLC for the preliminary plat approval of Twin Pine Farms Phase 3 on Lake 5 Road, tax key LSBT 0171.995. This also made it through the Planning Commission unanimously. Is there any questions or comments on this? No. If not, is there a motion on the item?
I'll make a motion that we approve the request by Joe Vukovich for MLG / PF Twin Pines LLC for the preliminary plat approval of Twin Pines Farm Phase 3 on Lake 5 Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any final discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C is discussion and necessary action regarding renewal of the annual mobile home park license for American Mobile Home Communities for the 2021-2022 license year. This is something we do every single year. Any questions on this one? Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we renew the annual mobile home park license for the American Mobile Home Communities for the 21-22 license year.
Moved by Linda, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel. Item 10 is Public Safety Committee recommendations. Discussion necessary action regarding request for a four-way stop sign to be placed on Denton's Way at the intersection of Wren's Way and Hanson's Drive.
Yes, the Public Safety Committee met, and we had a request from one of the residents that lives in Barnwood that we place a stop sign on Denton's Way with Wren's Way or Hanson's driveway. And so the Public Safety Committee recommended that we change it to a four-way stop. They were just asking for a two-way because of how much building is going in there. And they were concerned that people from the neighboring subdivision were going to start cutting through. And they thought to save ourselves some hassle, we would just put a four-way stop sign in to begin with.
Okay.
Isn't it three street, isn't it 3 signs, not 4?
It's four-way.
It is 4?
No, it's four.
It is, okay.
Hanson and Wren's Way are the same
Right,
street on
correct.
one side and the other.
Correct,
So
yeah, I know, yeah. Okay,
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Comments?
I'll make a motion to approve a four-way stop sign to be placed at Denton's Way at the intersection with Wren's Way and Hanson's Drive.
Motion by Mark Moonen to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Linda. Any final discussion?
I just want to make a comment. You know, I agree that they should be there. These four-way stop signs and any stop signs in these subdivisions, though, are kind of, a lot of people just yield. They do not stop.
Right, that's a enforcement area.
Yeah, and it's hard. I'm sure it'd be hard to enforce that, but definitely they should be there. At least they slow down.
It's not hard if we have an officer there at the time, but we fund one officer during the day, so it's,
Yeah,
but definitely noted on that.
yeah.
Any other discussion?
Mm-mm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 11, unfinished business. A, discussion and necessary action regarding request by Diane Lichty to contest a 14-day non-compliance order to remove items stored in violation of Town Code Chapter 5, subsections 502, parent A, parent 1, and parent 2, and subsections 502, parent B, parent 3, parent 10 on the property located at West 225 North 8934 Jolin Drive, tax key LSBT 0147.994.001. And this has been brought back. It was tabled on the 12th.
Okay, so
You have in front of you the request for consideration. The key issues for consideration, our building inspector and Supervisor Moonen went out on April 12th to the property. The purpose of their visit was to observe and verify a complaint filed by a town resident. Complaint was of the excessive amounts of brush pile, debris, fallen trees, yard waste, foul smells located along the approximate eastern lot line, which they observed. And so they did observe brush piles starting at the northeastern lot, extending along the eastern lot line. The brush was approximately 3 feet to 5 feet in height. The brush consists of branches less than 3 inches in diameter and are approximately 4 to 6 feet in length. The configuration of the brush piles creates a sort of fence along the eastern lot line. The brush pile contains miscellaneous brush, leaves, and some grass clippings. No smell was noticed at the time of their visit. The owner stated that the brush was placed in its location as a result of tree service hired by We Energies to keep trees properly trimmed from overhead power lines that run along the eastern property line. The brush was left there by their company and the owner stacked it. Brush was not removed because of the inability to bring chipping equipment to the immediate area. Owner stated the brush has been in the location in excess of 20 years. Owner stated that the brush piles act as deterrent for their dogs to keep them from wandering off the property, along with creating a natural habitat for wildlife. Attached are photos that were obtained during the visit of the building inspector as well as the Supervisor Moonen. So it's open for discussion.
Thank you. So Mark, you went out there.
Yeah, and Brian, you can chime in as well. As you'll see in your packet, I did collect some photos at the permission of the property owner. Myself and Inspector Olhafen that visited the property and collected these pictures. We had discussion with Mr. and Mrs. Lichty and also walked the area in question to see what the perspective was from their side. I tried to do the best job as possible to give you a view of all the different lot lines. I guess we can just go through and I'll explain the pictures just so everybody kind of gets a perspective from the pictures. Now, the property line in question here is would be the north property line of the Lichty property, south and southeast corner of the Habercorn property, and then the southeast corner of the Ashland property. Hope I'm saying all those names correctly. The first picture there is essentially the east property line, and I tried to take it underneath the power lines that were stated at the last meeting. As you can see there, the picture is taken from about my face height, and I would say those piles are upwards of 7 feet in those general areas. Most of them are about 5 feet, I would say, but 5 to 7 feet. And the first picture looks south towards, which would be North Lisbon Road area. Next picture is of the property in almost the same area. I just stepped back from the property line to give you a view of what the end of the piles look like. And same with the next picture, I just keep rotating back. The next, that would be the fourth picture, is the north property line abutting the Ashland property. And if you looked at the map, it's kind of intersection of 3 properties on the northeast corner of their property. And then there's a shared property line as you move further towards the west with just the Habercorn and Lichty properties. I tried to do the burning area that was noted earlier in comment. You'll see some trailers there. And then the next picture is looking back towards the front of the property with the brush piles on the right. The picture with the red house is looking towards the Ashland property. At our last meeting, we talked about wood piles that were piled back there. You can see there's approximately 4 piles. I think they're 6 feet tall and maybe no more than 10 feet in length. In that, you'll also see 2 different ropes, a red rope and a yellow rope. From the best I can understand is that one was initially put up and then one was secondarily put up. And their purpose is to signify property lines. The next picture moving there is, as you heard earlier, there was a public comment about a pile of rubbish. I would say that half of it is unused yard maintenance items and the other is stuff that could be discarded or moved away from the property. Some of the things I noticed in there were potting stuff. There's chain link fence sections. There's some rotted fence, 4-foot fence. And there was, I believe it was pallets in there as well. As you move forward, there's a picture with a picnic table in the center. That's actually essentially from the driveway looking to the east. So you can see most of the yard visible from the driveway is manicured and kept orderly. I just spun around then and looked towards the front of the property to kind of give you the same view. The next picture with the deer in it is kind of a easement that's been sectioned off. That's another picture of the easement, and that concludes the pictures that were taken. Overall, I did note there was some testimony in the last meeting that the piles were over 20 years old. I guess just based off of my observations, I think maybe the correct statement is they've been added to for 20 years because there was different ages of wood that was piled up. Some were newer than the other ones, but in my observation and opinion, it appeared as if they were taking the brush to create some kind of barrier between the 2 properties. You can see in some areas, not in all, there was grass clippings that were added to the piles along with sticks that presumably were picked up from the property. So it seemed that we'll call it a man-made fence was just added to over time to essentially create a visual or obstructive barrier for the 2 property lines. Inspector Olhafen, I didn't note any absurd or foul smells at that time. Not to say that there couldn't be, but just the day we were out there, there wasn't. It was probably weather much like today. So there was feces on the property, but nothing out of the ordinary that would come with dogs on a property. Inspector Olhafen, you got anything for the group?
No, you've covered it very well. Thanks.
Thank you. So I guess if anyone has questions that they thought of that they'd like me to convey based off of my observation, I can help with that.
I went out there today and walked it like you did, and everything that you said is, I think, dot on. One thing though, a lot of those brush piles are on the east side of that property, not abutting the complainant's property at all, right? I mean,
yeah, so those first few pictures, I think it was 4, is the east property line, correct? Which would be, the utility runs north-south along the east property line. And that's where the the brush that would be more of like the lengths of stuff. The stuff that was contained along the eastern property line was more of, I would call it picked up brush in place there. It was a lot smaller. And just more dumped. The other stuff on the eastern property line was stacked more like what we would see for brush pickup.
Anything else?
And it didn't smell or anything when I was there today either, but again,
Mhm. It's not warm out.
it's not warm.
Yeah.
It's,
I went over there on Sunday and walked the line, and I met, the Habacorns because of their email. I gave them a call and asked if I could come over, and I did walk it. To me, it's not a pretty sight. I noticed that there are at least 4 or 5 burrows of animals getting into the brush piles. And that concerns me, of animals in there and everything else. I did notice some bigger logs, like telephone logs on the bottom. And then with all this brush, and I agree with Mark, there's been new stuff added all the time. It looks like they're moving forward with the pile toward the street, And that's, it really is an unsightly thing. If I would myself like to have a neighbor like that, personal opinion.
Sure, but according to what we have here with Town Code Chapter 5, subsections 502, parent A1 and 2, and sections 502, parent B, 3, and 10, which ones of those would you say?
Well,
Does it not meet any of those? Does it meet some of those? But I mean,
It's the
it only has to
brush.
not meet one for them to have to correct it. But
right, it's the brush, the extra, the wood that's in
Mhm.
there. They have 2 picnic tables in the back that are rotting by this, behind over in here, there's 2 rotted picnic tables.
Okay,
And it goes along the back. And I would just let, just for community, I think it's too bad that they didn't put it, if they're gonna have something,
I just want to be very cautious here.
I know.
We are here to discuss
I know,
Town
I
Code
know.
Chapter 5, subsections 502, parent
Would you
A1
read
and
those
2.
again, please?
Yes. This isn't a matter of whether you would want them as your neighbor, or
I
if you don't like the way
understand.
the property looks.
I do,
We are here to determine whether or not they are in violation of this.
yes.
So parent 502A, 1, a public nuisance is thing, act, occupation, condition, or use of property which shall continue for such length of time as to substantially annoy, injure, or endanger the comfort, health, repose, or safety to the public. And then on B, public nuisance affecting health, the following acts, omissions, place, conditions, and things are hereby specifically declared to be public health nuisances, but shall not be construed to exclude other health nuisances coming within the definition of subsection A of the section. And that is 3, which is accumulations of decayed animal or vegetable matter, trash, paper boxes, rubbish, rotting lumber, bedding, packing material, scrap metal. And number 10, which is any use of the property, substances, or things within the town emitting or causing any foul, offensive, noisome, noxious, or disagreeable odors. I don't know what that word is. Effluvia? Or stenches extremely repulsive to the physical senses of ordinary persons which annoy, discomfort, injure, or inconvenience the health of any appreciable number of persons within the town.
Mhm. I myself did not smell anything either because it was damp, and I didn't. And I think it's a safety thing, for one thing, for these, something is burrowing in this, and what animals are in there. I think it's a safety thing because we don't know what kind of, it could be woodchucks, it could be all sorts of different things. I think it is a lot of rubbish there. I think the woods, the limbs, I don't think that's, I think we can apply I think it's 2 that we can apply to that myself to get rid of those piles. It's, to get rid of that. So I'm thinking, 1 and 2 for sure. It's a health, to me, it's a health thing. I just think it's dangerous if kids, we know with kids, they start going in there and maybe, jumping
Well,
on it.
nobody should be,
Exactly. You're right. Nobody should be.
I
Nobody
mean,
should
that's
be,
their
but
personal property.
I think that's
so-
a safety thing too as well, but I'm
Mhm.
worried about the burrows in there with the animals in there. I could not get on the east side of it because I went to the Lichties and I ran the door and I wanted to, have her walk the yard with me and she didn't answer the door. She was home, but she didn't answer the door. So, and that's fine. But anyway, I just think, those, a couple of those things apply to this situation.
Okay,
As far as my observations and tying it in with the ordinance, I don't see it as a substantial annoyance, at least based off of the view I got.
Mhm.
Obviously, I don't live there. I haven't had the history between the properties, but that's here nor there. This is about compliance. I guess the safety of the public, I know the comment was made earlier about fire. I think, and luckily we have a former fire chief on our board. It doesn't take large brush piles to go up, so I guess maybe the whole town's susceptible to a safety hazard. I don't think it's substantial in that aspect, but I would find that they're non-compliant to 5.02 sub B, sub 3, in the manner of rotting lumber.
Mhm.
I would say that would be, especially that pile that's inward, that had the chain link fence, the picnic tables, the section of 4-foot fencing near it. I would say that that is beyond use in the sense of not being able to be applied to their property. I think it is rotting. And from my discussion, they haven't used it in quite some time. And then section 10 of the same section, I didn't find any odors that would be extremely repulsive. So I guess I can't say that section 10 would be in violation.
Okay,
Mhm.
Becky?
I have a couple questions because I did not get out there. Like the first picture, Mark.
Yep.
Is that on the lot line or no? That's in there, in the Lichties woods,
So let me get
the
back to
very first one.
This one I think.
That says, east property line to the left looking south.
Yep, so you can see the power lines that run.
Yes,
I'll
I
just
see
call it-
our, whose property are they on?
So that would be on theirs, on the property in question.
Okay,
So, I mean, you're essentially looking at the property line if you look at the space between the green space and the woods. I think if I measure correctly on GIS, it was like 10 feet. If I can pull that back up while we have further discussion.
I mean, these brush piles are huge. But I guess my biggest concern is this pile of junk with the fencing and the barrels and can't tell what else is in there. Pallets and the rubber holes or the black holes there. Now, did you not say there was one that said something about fencing, old fencing? Huh?
That's on that picture as well. Right, 4-foot fencing.
Right. Oh, 15 feet off the lot line. Yeah, I don't like that at all. I think that's a hazard.
Okay.
But I don't know what you can do about those brush piles. I mean,
Well, we can find them in violation of the code and have them removed.
the whole brush pile.
If you consider it substantially annoy, injure, or endanger the comfort, health, repose, or safety of the public.
Well, I would say they propose a safety hazard.
All right, so you'd be on 502A2, and then B3, which is the accumulations of decayed animal or vegetable matter, trash, paper boxes, rubbish, rotting lumber. That's the fencing and all that stuff that's there. You would find them in violation of that one also.
Yes.
All right, but then the one that's the parent 10, I think that was the other one here. That's with the odor. I mean, we weren't there, so.
Unless you're there in the summer.
Right.
I mean, the winter is not gonna.
So we're not, nobody's saying that it doesn't smell, it's just nothing was, we weren't there to experience,
Right,
nobody was there to
it'd be
experience that
impossible to tell
right now.
Unless
Okay.
you stuck your face in it.
Sure. From the evidence that's been given, I would say B3, I would find them in violation of. These are excessive brush piles.
Right.
I mean, these are not like what you would find in a yard where somebody threw some stuff in their backyard. It appears to be spread out on the property in different areas, but it's a lot. Animals, they're animals. You're gonna get animals anywhere. I mean, it's,
Well,
our friend, the endangered woodchuck, I'm not really sure I want to go after him.
Well,
But I
any
mean-
animals, any animals, and I did see it, so there, and I didn't get into the backs, that they're burying themselves into it, and I just,
We're gonna go after every animal in every woods everywhere.
no, I'm
though?
not saying that, I'm just
I
saying animals are making that a home.
Yeah. I don't know if I can go out, I don't know if I can stand behind that one, but I mean, I do think for sure B3
Mhm.
for certain. As far as the brush piles though, I guess I don't know if, Doug, what is as far as a fire risk? I mean, the thing that happened on the railroad tracks is a different scenario.
Well, that's railroad ties.
Yeah,
Those
that's
are-
a whole different
That's
deal.
different. I think this is it's kind of a goofy situation for sure. I think these brush piles have been there a long time. And I don't, I do think the pile of items, the fencing and all that, I think that probably could qualify as needs to be cleaned up.
Mhm.
As far as these brush piles, they are pretty extensive. If they did catch on fire, obviously they would go pretty good if it was dry. There is good access to it. I mean, the fire department would probably get in there and be able to put it out. I don't think removing that in 14 days is realistic at all. I
No.
mean, there would have to be some kind of a plan. I did talk to Mr. Lickey and I said, well, if Esh Blundy and those guys come through there, I don't know if he said every 4 or 5 years, definitely do not pile any more up on there and convince Esh Blundy to maybe start removing it when they're through there, half of it at a time or something, get it through a chipper. Maybe that's a way of doing it. I think there's also piles of old firewood that looks like it was cut firewood.
That's not on their property though, is it?
Okay, and but that's.
I'm asking because according to this pink.
Right,
roll,
it is, it's on the other side of the property,
don't
so
know
I
what
guess,
that is.
I don't know that that's also probably an issue.
Well, and
I don't know,
Brian, you can chime in too here on this one. We talked about firewood. I mean, it's presented in a manner that's going to be consumable. It's not
and that's-
piled in length.
Yeah, it was stacked up, and the only thing we have in our ordinance that I'm aware of as far as firewood is, and it's not even listed as firewood, it has to be less than 5 inches in diameter and less than 60 inches long. And I believe that's in our fill ordinance. It's not in our nuisance ordinance.
As far as
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
there's woodchucks probably living under every swimming pool in the town.
Right. Decks,
they're
swimming
all over.
pools.
That's,
I got one underneath my porch.
yeah, I don't know about that.
I do everything I
just-
can to stop him from running
I
on my
don't,
porch.
you
and he
know,
goes
I
in
don't
there
know if it's a
every
woodchuck,
year.
but an animal. The animals are living in
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
That's
it's probably
all.
a
Well,
woodchuck.
It's good natural habitat.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but I don't.
Be careful, you're gonna have the DNR saying we can't remove them.
I know.
My other concern is, I think there's, they're on an outlot that has 3 acres. Not saying that if it's against the ordinance, it's against the ordinance.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think there's dozens and dozens of these kinds of things all through the town, if you drive around and
Oh,
just
I'm sure
look.
there are.
And I'm not sure how you would approach all of those things either. I think this is a sticky.
Complaint based.
Yeah,
That's how we
well,
approach 'em.
it's unfortunate.
Spring brush
because-
cleanup.
Mhm.
But if it's something that we feel needs to be out of there, I do think that the time frame would, something
Yeah,
has
I
got to
agree.
I agree.
change and be something that's reasonable.
Right.
And I say for now, for sure, maybe that pile of rubbish stuff should be looked at, and then the rest of this, at least do not put any more on it for sure, and start at some way of reducing this to something else.
How do you feel on the brush, Mark?
I guess as far as the brush, I looked at 5.02A and then sub 2 for the brush, because I didn't think it fit any of the B3 areas, because it's, I don't consider grass vegetable matter. I think vegetable matter is vegetable matter. So I looked at that and said substantially annoy. We have one neighbor complaining about it. We actually have the majority of the brush piled on another neighbor who's not part of the complaint. That was one thing I noted. Not to say that you can't see farther than your property lines, but as far as a budding property, we don't have any reports of injury, endanger the comfort. I couldn't see anything with that. Health, I did evaluate that. I didn't see any, major woodchuck habitats or raccoons living, at least when I was there. Repose or safety of the public. I guess having gone to Doug and listened to what he says is, there's, yes, it could be flammable, but so could every other wooded property in our town. So I just don't think the brush in itself falls. I guess it could eventually get to be that point where it substantially annoys somebody. But I think that first part is very subjective.
I agree.
We essentially have one abutting property complaining about it. The other abutting property has not made any comment to the town board on it. So not to say that it doesn't bother them, but it's just not in front of us today. So,
Are you talking about the one to the south? that
Nope.
butts
So
on?
the 2 properties that touch the north property
Right,
line.
you're right,
So, the one with the wood and the fire pit.
right, now I know it,
They
the red
haven't,
house,
they haven't made a comment to the board as far as.
the red house.
So, I guess I would remain in the B3.
The B3 is.
Well, B,
Accumulations of decayed animal or
Right.
vegetable matter, trash, paper boxes, rubbish, rotting lumber, bedding, packing materials, or scrap metal.
But that's really not in any of those brush piles.
no, it's that other, that's that
Oh,
other.
that other
picture.
pile, yeah,
Right.
I get that. But these brush piles don't have any of that B3 thing in it, right?
No, that's all.
But don't they have rotting, the wood?
Not lumber though.
There is some, well, if you take a telephone pole, do you consider that lumber?
Is there a telephone pole inside that?
I saw,
Where did you see that? Because I didn't.
and right next to the Habacarns, on the bottom, I saw telephone pole. Yep, my
I
husband,
don't see any telephone.
well, not maybe in
poles.
the pictures, but I saw it personally.
Well, if there is a pole there, they'll probably remove that. But I mean, if you're looking at the ordinance the way it's written,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see.
Actually, I think I know which, if you look at the picture with the wood piles. If you look midway on the left side of the picture, there is one there, but that's not on,
Well, that's on the other
that's not on
side.
their property.
Yeah, that's on the other side of the property.
Oh, yeah, right there. That's on the,
If that's
Other
the one
neighbor's
that you're
property.
thinking of.
No, because I thought it was over the pink line. You know, and the yellow line, that it was on the Litzky's property.
in this picture, it's definitely not, but
Okay,
Who knows if that's the one?
so I mean, everybody's in agreement on the junk pile or whatever the pile. Exhibit J1. But so the brush is the one. I mean, that's the one we're kind of, if it just, I guess if you had told, if I had heard that it was a substantial fire risk, I think I'd be all in favor of removing it.
Well, I think if it caught on fire, it would, if it's a very dry part of the season and it would burn, no doubt. Every fire, they're gonna determine a cause and go find out what started it. If it is intentional or if anything came from somebody else's thing, it's gonna be known.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're not chopping wood down and putting this there. This is the tree service that's doing this?
I
I
guess
guess I don't know.
I'd have a hard time believing all that was from a tree service. I think they're probably, because they have a lot of trees in their yard. I'm thinking when things, with the wind, they fall down, they just put it on this brush pile.
I
Because
would
it
say-
looks like it's growing to the,
I would say there's a distinct separation between the two piles. The one on the east property line is definitely lengths of branches. It's, I mean, it was probably sawed off at the trunk of the tree and then placed in piles. The stuff on the north property line would be more of picked up, like twigs in the yard or branches that came down in windstorm, something like that. So the one on the north property line is probably more likely the homeowners picking it up. The one on the east is probably more the utility contractor.
So does she have an issue? I mean, if this were mine, I'd be removing this, obviously. I think anybody here would be. I don't know that, I mean, if there was some there, I wouldn't care, but I mean, this is a lot.
this is an excessive amount.
Yeah, like these
Can't you, isn't that lumber and wood?
lumber is just, that's a term. Lumber is,
Construction.
Construction material.
That's not
right.
natural brush.
I'm looking even past this violation here, just trying to fix this so that we don't get
Right.
back here again in 2
Right,
months.
right. Well,
To
I'd
be
be,
quite honest.
if they would just remove the north side and then the east side and then, you know, and don't ever add it to it again. Myself,
Becky, do you still, as far as you find it a safety hazard? It's okay if you do, we just want to.
Yeah, it's just so, I mean, these couple are so tall. I mean, they're huge.
Right, it's excessive. Linda, you definitely do, and Doug, you're up in the air.
No. I just think that there's a lot of these situations probably in
But
many.
we're only looking at
I
this
know,
one.
I know, and I don't know, and I don't see it as a safety issue as you're looking at it today. I understand that it's a lot, and they should maybe get some kind of a long-term plan to reduce it
Can
and
we,
get it out of there.
all right, so we definitely, everyone in agreement, 502B3, everybody's in agreement that one, correct?
Yep.
Linda, Mark, Doug, myself, definitely in violation.
Right.
502B3, hands down, nobody's disputing this whatsoever. Right. So how much, I mean, that doesn't look like that would take much time to clean up, but obviously you want to give them some time. That being said, 502A2, I guess, Kathy, can you give Diana a call and talk to her and try to work with her to get this stuff removed in a time frame that would need to go? Yeah, the brush piles. Right. I mean, I imagine she would be willing to not face a penalty in this, and obviously we have a board that's torn on this, and we're gonna have to make a decision at some point. But I would like to know if we can just get somebody to do the right thing, I guess, and try to start one section of cooperation that hopefully spawns more cooperation, which leads to better cooperation amongst everybody. And maybe we can throw out an olive branch here and get this going.
They can just start burning.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing brush pickup right now.
We talked about burning and Mrs. Lichty is opposed to burning on her property. So
Can she hire somebody to take the stuff out to the road and we can? And we are doing brush pickup right now. I don't know where we've been through yet
I
or
think
not.
they're already past,
Well, maybe we can,
I think we could arrange something.
yes,
Yes.
that's where I'm going with this.
Are you talking about the north side?
I'm talking about trying to come to agreement on this and just help getting everybody on the same page in general.
Mhm.
I'm being as vague as possible and still trying to say what I want to say here. But she is definitely, the board obviously finds that 502B3 they're in violation.
Yep.
And we can take an official vote on it, obviously, but having pulled the board here, that is for sure.
I can work with her and our public works department.
Right. And I guess how much, has she talked to anybody about timing? I mean, this is, 502B3 doesn't look that bad. I mean, I would think a month they could get that cleaned up. And then maybe bring back that other section and at the next meeting. Not that I want to do this again, but I want to be fair to everybody,
Mhm.
but
To do the B3 is the junk.
yes, so
And see if we can work something out with the.
on 502, we are in, I'm probably the one that would be the one that would cast the deciding vote on that. And at this point, I deem to not have enough evidence to do that. So I'm going to delay that one in for another month. It's the way it seems. So I'll take that on my shoulders as being the
Okay.
delaying factor. But in hopes of working something out here on that one. So as far as 502B3, I would move that town board finds them in violation of that and would grant them 1 month to clean it up. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mark Moonen. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. And as far as 502A sub 2. And see, I really don't, 502 sub A sub 1 and 2, I would make a motion to postpone determination on that until the next meeting. Is there a second?
So moved.
It's moved by Mark as a second. Any discussion? No discussion on postponement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Postpone to next meeting? or
Next
for
meeting.
1 month?
I'm sorry, I did say 1 month.
Yeah.
So it'd be 1 month.
1 month.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I did say 1 month. Second was under that impression.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we will bring that back, but hopefully we can come to some compromise on this and get this handled. All right. Item 12 is new business. A, discussion necessary action regarding potential sale of fire engine 2663.
Do you not have any paperwork on this? Like,
Yeah, well, this,
Supervisor Brown might be able to shed some.
okay, so, yeah.
Oh, and I'm sorry, we have the fire chief on.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
You want me to take this here?
Whatever you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so engine 2663 is a fire engine that was purchased by Lisbon in 2010. It was a used fire engine at the time. It's a 1995. It was kind of fabricated and refurbished when we bought it at about $130,000. It was a stopgap type of engine to fill in for at a point where we needed to replace an engine. So with the finances that we had at the time, we bought this truck. It served us, it served that purpose pretty well through the last pump testing that it went through. There's been a lot of fluid exchanges between the transfer case, the water casing of the pump and the transmissions back and forth. So the repairs to keep that truck in service is substantial. And then what we're really going to get out of it in the long run is minimal. The truck already has a lot of other factors that are failing on it. The pump panel, the structure of it's weak. So it, when you bump the panel, the truck goes, the RPMs go back and forth and up and down. And there's a lot of the actuators in the doors and things that are not good anymore. So anyway, the truck has been out of service for 7 months. It's been sitting out at Good Hope with a lot of the things with the fire department unknown. It's been sitting there. The guys at the firehouse have taken off everything. All the equipment's been stripped off of it, and anything that's useful has been taken off of it. The plan would be to let the DPW director, Joe DiStefano, put it on Wisconsin surplus auction. And he said he would handle, taking calls on it and showing it and stuff. It does have a 60 series Detroit in it that was rebuilt, top half and bottom half, in 2010 when we bought it. So the truck runs well, and it has an Allison automatic transmission in it. So my guess is somebody's going to see it on that auction site and want it for the
driveline
train.
is solid on that.
The
truck.
drivetrain up to the pump. Yeah,
I think the transmission was redone also.
I don't remember that, but they went through it and they changed all the fluids and the filters and everything on it.
When you say minimal, what do you mean by minimal? Do you have any idea or no?
What did I say that to when I was talking about?
Yeah, but what it's worth,
Oh,
because we paid.
you know what?
130
The market for used fire engines is just
Nothing.
horrible. A lot of times scrap iron and the weight of them is worth more than what you get for them. But in this case, with a good description of that 60 series Detroit in there, we might. I'd be surprised if you got between 5,000 and 10,000 for this truck.
Mhm.
Again, the driveline is what people are thinking.
Yeah.
Seek.
Okay. Okay.
Is this the California?
Yeah, San Bernardino.
I remember something.
Yes, you do. Yep, that's the one.
All right, any other comments or questions?
It can't be rebuilt in the areas that it needs to? Just for the public's knowledge?
No, that engine would never make it back for the amount of money that you would put into that to get that to be roadworthy to the point of an emergency response vehicle and pumping capacity and all the standards passing. It's not. It served the town well.
Okay, Linda?
No, I have no questions. We have to sell it.
All right, so we would we'd be looking for a motion and to authorize the DPW director to place it for sale on Wisconsin surplus auction. I imagine he would watch it then, and if it wasn't going for scrap price, we could pull it and
Right.
You can put a
minimum.
reserve.
or you can put a reserve on it. Yeah, absolutely.
Are we gonna determine that or staff?
What the reserve should be?
I don't know what it weighs.
We'd have to.
Scrap prices are up right now.
Oh, yeah, cost of metal's up. You could take it down and get it weighed and then determine, come up with a price on it, I guess.
They just have somebody call and estimate at the scrapyard what they give us for it, I guess. And
Yeah.
set the reserve higher than that.
Or at that price, something.
Yeah, because we could, not that we're in the business of parting, but we could take the drivetrain out and scrap the rest.
I will tell you, getting the drivetrain out of that thing, they rebuilt the motor in the chassis.
Yeah.
That tells you how much.
When there used to
functionality-
be a bigger value on those, when you could reglide those onto different trucks and use them and get kind of away
People would
from.
buy glider trucks and then put the Detroit engines in because then they don't have to do the emissions.
But they've also, the EPA's also changed that deal too, so you can't really use them to get past the EPA standards on emissions either anymore.
Yeah, I imagine pretty soon they're gonna be requiring electric motors in all these. Anyway, so would we board be comfortable if we had it scrap value estimated and the reserve set higher than that and let the DPW director do that?
Yes,
Right. I would make that motion.
and I will second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item B, discussion necessary action on the request by Brian Builders for the construction of a 1,000 square foot multi-tenant building in the industrial portion of the Lisbon Business Park / Industrial Park, also known as Leeds. We have Joe Dersanis here tonight.
100,000 square feet.
Did I say 100?
It's 1,000.
You said
Oh,
1,000.
100,000, excuse me.
Whoa, what a little place.
100,000. My bad.
Hi, how is everyone? Haven't seen everyone in a while.
Good.
Do we have the site plan? Would we pull that up or? We have a printed copy I could pass. I got it. Here. You pass out.
We have it in the packet.
With okay, yeah, perfect. With the revised one. Okay. So I got a little handout I'm gonna pass out.
Thank you.
That I'll talk about. And I know you guys
Thank
wanna
you.
talk about this when we get into closed session.
Thank you.
So what I want to do is just give a rough overview of what we're looking to build there, and then what the ask is going to be. And then I think Kathy might have filled you guys in on some of it so far. But within the Leeds developments, we have a developer who's not us, but a developer that we're working with that wants to put up. It'll wind up being a 117,000 square foot building to start with, expandable to I don't believe I look at my notes. 157,000 square feet roughly is what it'll wind up being. So we're looking to put it on the lot that's south of Wyckoff. It's about 10.9 acres is what that lot would wind up being. Timeline for this developer is he would build this completely on spec. So there's no tenant lined up for it. There's no one in place. He's going to take the financial risk and put the building up and hope that he'll get some tenants in there. Estimated construction cost, depending on how the expansion side, the first phase will probably be about $8 million to build the building at 117,000 square feet with the build outs for some of the tenants, assuming 10%. And then a 157,000 square foot building will be roughly about $10 million when it's all said and done, 10.8. So I have some forecasted assessed values that I'll talk through, but let me ask the ask first, and then we'll kind of talk through where I was kind of making the assumptions. The developer is looking to get the land at zero cost. All right, and the assumption would be that the tax increment created by doing the development would more than pay for what the cost of the value of the land would be. Couple benefits behind doing this deal is he'd start right now, which that would bring this building online, creating tax increment 8 to 12 months before another 100,000 square foot building would. We're kind of at that pinnacle of starting this year or waiting until next year when it comes to some of the construction stuff. The reason we're not putting this building up, and I'll just be frank, construction cost is up anywhere from $8 to $10 a square foot for a building of this size. So you're talking 800,000 to $1 million. It's really hard to make the numbers work from a construction perspective now. So we're not seeing any spec buildings going up in the market, all of Waukesha County, even down to Walworth County, Milwaukee County. There's just not the rent has to be so high in order to make it work when you're spending that much money. It's just a financial calculation. The other big benefits, and there's been a couple people that we've been talking with that are local even to the area, whether it's Sussex or Lisbon, right on the border, that need space. This spec building goes up. The people that are growing in the community are going to be some of the first occupants to take the space. So it's nice to get something like this on board, especially in a development that's part of a TIF and has so much community involvement associated with it. So those are the asks, the free land, those are some of the benefits. And then I mentioned it, but the tax increment will oversee whatever you guys have into the base cost, even with the infrastructure and the improvements in place. So the numbers that I have here have not been vetted by Ellers or Kathy or anyone here. These are just my rough estimates. But, if you look at most of the buildings that we've done, on the development side, they're all assessing at around $65 a square foot, including the land. So I kind of use that as a base number when I was looking at forecasted assessed value. So, if you're looking at, what the buildings are going to assess at, 7.6 for 117,000, 10 million for 156. So tax increment with him starting out just building the 100 right away. I mean, you're looking at $117,000 a year in taxes coming in, which is about 2.1 million over the course of the TIF, assuming it hits the tax roll next year. So we're losing 12 months. So that's based off of 18 years, not 19 that's left on the TIF. I think it's a great opportunity to get another good looking, beautiful building within this park that we can start right away. And with the next few months, we got to get through Plan Commission, Architectural Review Board, and we got to make sure we vet everything out. But this would be a sizable project starting this year. Now, the ask for the free land, Kathy's made it clear that there's some pushback for giving away free land. And I do understand that. But you look at it from the developer perspective, it's just another financing tool that allows someone to put up a building like this. You're talking about putting up a building and a few $100,000. I get it. It might not look like it tips the needle, but it does when it goes to financing. Then you look at what your return is going to be on the cash that you have to invest. So that means you got to put up another 300K at least. And it's incremental to the point where it does make a difference whether someone will do the development or not. So thoughts there are, maybe there's different ways to guarantee a larger tax increment, or maybe there's, you put a stipulation in place saying that we'd give you the land for free, but within 5 years, you got to put up the other 40,000 square feet so that tax base goes up and it's not just at the 117. So I'm just looking to see if you guys are willing to part with the land at a guaranteed minimal tax increment. And then I guess all the details can be sorted out at the next meeting after you guys have a chance to talk about it. And I'm assuming Kathy would get back to me on what your guys' thoughts are.
Okay.
There's a lot of me talking. Does anyone have questions? I know you guys are going to go into closed session, talk about stuff.
Yeah, I do got 2 questions for you. I think one of them is partially answered. The first one is, who's responsible in the 18 years should the tax increment not be met?
So, and we've done these deals, Donna McGuanac. So long story, the developing company is responsible for the guaranteed tax increment. So there is a guarantee associated with that.
And what value is that?
The minimal tax increment, and that's something that has to be determined by Lisbon. So, the assessed values that I put in there would be fair. When I was going at $65 a foot is probably what minimally it'll assess at, but maybe there's flexibility in there to, increase it or come up with some other scenario. And we've done these in the past, and I have other ideas and stuff that's worked, but I didn't want to come in here and throw it all at you. I just wanted to talk about the deal. So.
And then my second question was partially answered at your last statement. What guarantees the future expansion? I guess we know if we leave this open with the promise of free land now, the expansion may or may not happen depending on, I don't know what business we're talking here, but we're talking, it's dependent upon them, not us.
It is. I can tell you, other companies that we worked with in the past, what they've done is even put stuff in place to say, if you don't do the expansion with X amount of years, this is all, right, it's in the developer agreement that you'll put together, then you have to pay the tax increment on what that full volume size would be of the building, or you have to write us a check for X for the land if you don't do it. So there's, small details that you can put into place to make sure that that happens. The use of the building, just because you mentioned, what's going on there, I don't think I specified it. When I say a spec building, I mean, a blank multi-tenant building where probably leasing spaces out in a building of this size is about 25,000 square feet would be the smallest user, which is a great size user to have in your business. You know, you get the guy coming out of 12, 15,000 square feet, needs to grow and expand, isn't quite ready to own his building yet. This is the great, I was gonna say, this is a great next step in that. And we own a lot of these buildings throughout the state, and they work well for those perspectives.
Any other questions? I guess I have, it's one, as far as comparable sites in the area that are not government owned, so to say, what is per acre lots going for right now?
It's all over the board. You've known me for a while, Joe, so I'm honest can be. If you look at some of the lots that have sold and that are trying to be sold, and I'll use development down the road in your neighboring community, I mean, that's knocking on 150 an acre for land. Those are different users going there. Those are people that really want the visibility. And this is a great development. We're tied to it. We want to make it work. We were working on this years and years ago. That truck route from 164 South, it's more direct. And you're not getting developers putting up spec buildings on that because you can't make the numbers work. It's just, you're upside down when you're buying the land for that much. This is a different model. This is a different use of the land. That's why it makes sense from this perspective.
Okay.
But on average, I don't know, 120, is that, but that's the nearest site that I would compare it to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Aesthetics wise, building, it'll be similar to Wyckoff, but different. And I could give examples of what that building would look like. The problem is we haven't drawn it yet. And so I didn't want to speak on behalf of the entity that would be owning it. So I promise you it'll be a very good looking building.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 13 is the closed sessions. Grab a drink before I read these all off.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent G, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is running oral written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, more specifically regarding the Wagner case, and pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session, more specifically regarding the fire department services and Bryan Builder spec buildings, and pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.95, parent C, for the purpose of considering employment promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically regarding administrator evaluation and parks director. Is there a motion to go into closed session under those terms?
I make a motion to go into closed session.
By Linda Beal, is there a second? Second by Mark Moonen. Roll call vote, please. Aye.
Supervisor Brown,
Aye.
Supervisor Moonen,
Aye.
Supervisor Beal,
Aye.
Supervisor Klotecker.
Excellent. We will enter closed session at 7:57. Thank you, Lisa.
Just a moment to get everything turned off.